Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Pablo Spyer, partner at XP, to discuss Brazilian retail investor trends and economic outlook for 2022. Pablo, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Oh, hello, Jill Malandrino. It's an honor to be here on Nasdaq.
All right, yes, and welcome to the market site. Looks like a lot of fun there in Times Square today. So, Pablo, I want to get your thoughts on what Brazil learned with the problems of high inflation. What can Europe and the U.S. learn from Brazil's experience?
Inflation is a very dangerous. We call it a dragon in Brazil. We learned it the very hard way. Brazil lived a long period of high inflation. And high inflation, if it's not taken care very quickly and accurate with interest rate hikes, it can lead to even stronger interest rate hikes later, which can lead to unemployment and can lead to companies that in debt that cannot produce, and it can lead to faster inflation later and even stronger interest rate hikes on the future. Now, Brazil is very cautious about inflation because hyperinflation, if it happens, it's very difficult to stop. People on hyperinflation, when they receive any money, any salary, they run to spend that money. It generated even stronger inflation. So Brazil is very afraid because we lived hyperinflation very few time, not a long time ago. So that's the reason why now last year, when we saw our central bank president saw inflation coming, we promoted the strongest interest rate hike in the world, taking our interest rate from 2% to almost 10%, to 9.75%. So the fear of prices going up. Now, we paid a very strong price for that. Our stock market fell dramatically. But the fear of hyperinflation, it's bigger than the fear of the stock market falling. So I think the experience that we can divide with the world, share with the world, is central banks have to act very fast.
Okay, and speaking of interest rate hikes, this is a really important week with the FOMC most likely raising rates. What do you expect out of this?
Well, actually, in Brazil, I like to call this week of Super Wednesday, where we're going to have interest meetings here in the United States and in Brazil on Wednesday. Here in the United States, now, actually, I'm here in the United States to see that meeting of FOMC and the market reactions here. Everybody thinks that most of the market, the probability is that they're going to hike 0.25%. We see an inflation of almost 8% here. In Brazil, inflation is 10, and our interest rate is already almost 11, and it's going to almost 12 because we are very scary. So I believe the FOMC will be cautious, given the uncertainty of the markets. The decision of the interest rate hikes should be nimble now. I think the Federal Reserve has to address to the people. And in this moment, the dot plot and the press conference of Mr. Jerome Powell, will be decisive for the markets.
And Pablo, what do you expect from Brazil's economy in 2022, this year, especially with presidential elections?
The legacy of the economy is quite bad. We are receiving the year from last year, 2021, with two-digit inflation, and this is very difficult for us. The interest rates are very high, so I believe the economy should grow less than the 4.6% of last year. No? But last year we promoted this strong hike on interest rates because inflation was 8%, so we got scared. No? So on the other hand, I think the jump in prices of commodities that Brazil export can help Brazil. So our trade balance is getting positive. So this is something that can work on the side of Brazil. But we must remember that Brazil has surprised the world during the pandemic. The IMF has expected a GDP even super negative, and we surprised them. Last year, although the entire planet has negative rates or zero rates, Brazil, with inflation of 7-8%, promoted the strongest interest rate hikes of the world. And as I said, we paid a strong price with the fall of the markets. But now, well, it's better because this year Brazil has one of the best performance of the world. Why? Because we did our homework. Because also obviously because the shares had fall and the prices, there are some big gains over there. But also because in the elections, as you mentioned, in the past, when Lula was the first one that won the elections, the market was nervous, especially the foreigners, because they didn't know what was going to happen. And there was a lot of word about, so the FX went up and the market went down. When Mr. Bolsonaro won, there was a lot of words of what could happen. So the market fell and the FX went up. Now, the investors know them, they're both of them. So there is no new thing going on. So the markets are performing much better. So this is, I think that's what people have to have in mind. Now, right. Brazil can have a good path, either president that wins.
And finally, Pablo, in the last minute here, Brazilian investors still invest little in the stock market. Do you think this can change?
Yes, not only Brazilian invest little in the market, but few Brazilians invest in the market. So I think you can have both growth. Or not only Brazilians will begin to invest more, especially with the financial education, but also more Brazilians will join the market also because of Brazilian education. This is one of the main reasons, actually the main reason why I joined forces with XP. Together with XP, Vitorinha, the company I'm a CEO and I'm an invested company of XP, with I'm a partner also. We want to touch 50 million people with financial education. XP, it's the only financial institution taking really serious financial education in Brazil. We are going even on public schools. We want to spread the education, financial education among the young people of Brazil in order to have future generations with more comprehensive about the market environment and how to invest with better, better.
That's amazing. That's wonderful to hear, Pablo. Thanks so much for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thanks to you.